Hey, welcome to another episode of Outrun the Neon Sun. As always, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe and post your comments if you agree or disagree with my assessments here. But I'm missing a few Arcade1up cabinets, but I really want to talk about the ones that I own, the ones that I play the most, the ones that I love. In fact, I really do love all of them. It's no secret, but I'm missing a few, namely the Killer Instinct, the Simpsons, Marvel, Big Blue, and Mortal Kombat cabinets. But as I promised, I wanted to rank my cabinets from least played to most played and give my reasons. Okay, so first up on the list, or least played cabinet, rank 15. Now this may come as a shock to most of you, but though it's arguably the most beautiful cabinet, to me, this sees the least amount of play both from the kids who come up here to play, myself, as well as my own kids. The honor of the least played is Star Wars. I can just hear people cringing when they hear this. This was the cabinet I peed behind in the arcades when I couldn't find the toilet, so this holds some serious sentimental value to me. Larry probably plays this one the most because I haven't modded it with a coin door, and though the games on it are amazing, there's nothing that draws too many to this game, other than the novelty of it. Now the second cabinet that I play the least, I'd have to say though, is probably one of my favorite cabinets of all time in the arcade, but Arcade1up put out Golden Axe Revenge of Death at it. Though it's in the middle of the room, and though I'd hoped that games like Altered Beast or Shinobi or even WrestleMania might draw us to play it more, it's too similar to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cabinet in that it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up. Again, this cabinet is gorgeous, and the attract mode is stupendous, but alas, it gets very little play. I do love it though, and it's something that I'll always keep in my collection. In fact, when my brother comes to visit me from New Mexico, I know we'll probably be playing this one the most because this is what we always did in the 80s and 90s arcades that we would visit. Okay, so number 13 is kind of a no-brainer, I think, to a lot of people. Cabinet gets played a lot, but it's only because it's of one game, really. And this is the Rampage cabinet. For a first-gen cab, this one has stood the test of tons of play, and I religiously go to Joust on this cabinet because that's one of my favorite games of all time. But my kids will only play it if I challenge them to it. They aren't drawn to it like the others. Defender on this cab is a joke, but Rampage and Gauntlet are a lot of fun, even if you can't play with 3 on Gauntlet. My son Noah and I play a lot on it for Joust, but that's just about it. So we're up to the 12th played cabinet that I own, and this is the Tempest cabinet. I personally play this almost every single day, so I play it a ton. And it's new, so that's the only reason why maybe I'm placing it here, so I don't really fully know. But I don't think the kids play it that much after church. They haven't gotten the bug for Missile Command, and Centipede is great, but hard with the trackball. My older friends and I love this cabinet and play it a ton, so I'd personally put it in the top 5, but it's not something that draws others to it unless they have a history with it. Now, if you do, then this cabinet is amazing. Seriously, one of my favorites, and the most striking, in my opinion, of all the cabinets because of the glorious artwork. Major Havoc alone needs more love in the Arcade1up community because that game was absolutely groundbreaking and is still so much fun to play. Okay, for number 11, this is when it becomes really difficult, but I'd say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It breaks my heart to put it this low on the list because this was my favorite along with the Golden Axe when I was a teenager. I'm a little bitter that the kids don't flock to this anymore. I need counseling, I'm kidding. But once you beat it, there's not a huge reason to go back to it besides maybe sentimental value. That's why I did my first X Arcade mode for the coin door on this one, but I should have put it on all 4. I should have gotten 2 X Arcade coin doors, but alas, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. But hearing the Foot Clan burst and seeing Bebop and Rocksteady start blinking red is a huge one for me, and I'll always love this cabinet. The 10th cabinet that gets played fairly often is the Final Fight cabinet, mainly because of everyone's favorite game of 1944. I mean, that is just an amazing game. Final Fight is a great beat-em-up as well, and Strider I played religiously in the arcades, but only really played Ghosts and Goblins on the NES mainly, I'll be honest. It was hard then, but this is definitely more fun to play. I was most actually excited to receive this cabinet when I only had the first-gen cabs, and played this one the most for a while though. It's great because of the lineup of games, and it's just one of my favorites. Okay, so number 9 for the cabinet that is played really the community's favorite cabinet, that's NBA Jam. I purchased this because of the sports-focused kids in the church, and this gets a ton of play from them. In fact, this is the one they play the most, though I rarely play it, to be honest with you. It's great seeing 4 people playing this at a time and trash-talking the entire game. NBA Jam is a great cabinet with a basketball focus. It's beautiful as well, and if that's your jam, no pun intended, then definitely you're going to want to pick this one up. Number 8. I'd say the Terminator II cabinet for sure. This is in a similar vein to me as the Star Wars cabinet. It's gorgeous. Arcade1up hit it out of the park with this one. Everybody says that. And though I modded the guns with a little paint, dry brush techniques, it's still super exciting once you calibrate the light guns. I can't complain about the size of the screen or anything because it's still absolutely gorgeous and a ton of fun to play. As you line up the gun, you shoot those Terminators all while avoiding the people trying to help you. Can anyone tell me why those people stand right in the line of fire? Because I feel like I kill them every single time. Number 7, let's go with the Outrun cabinet. This is a tough one because it gets a ton of play and constantly sees others watching on. The higher the ranking, the higher the play, of course, and the Outrun cabinet is just a dream. With 5 amazing games, a few with different feels and controls, you really can go crazy on this cab. I put a modded coin door in this one because I wanted it to feel as close to an arcade as possible. All you need to do is tighten the wheel, lay down the controls, and try not break the plastic gas pedals. I'm sort of kidding. I'd love an upgrade with this one, but believe it or not, with all of the play that it has gotten, it is still absolutely holding up. And I love this cabinet. We play it literally every single time we come into the arcade. 6th is gonna have to go with the Galaga cabinet. Now, this one might be cheating a little bit because everyone didn't really like the screen, the controls, or whatever, but I love this cabinet. I play this one religiously ever since I received it. And though the kids in the church and my own kids may not love it as much, I have to put it up here because the deck is getting worn out from so much play. Like, I will have to upgrade the controls eventually or just play it on a different cab, but I love how this one is dedicated only to Galaga. The side art is beautiful even though it's hidden, and I should get a light up marquee, but all this stuff is super expensive, so I have to take it in at a time. But this one I still absolutely love. For the 5th most played cabinet, it's the SNK MVSX NeoGeo cabinet. This isn't an Arcade1up cabinet, I get it, but it's in the same vein and gets so much play it isn't even funny. With 50 different games to play, the kids literally clobber over this one on who can play it first, and my own son Christian can sit in front of it for hours. And if my wife is watching this, don't worry, honey, I've never let him play it for hours at a time. He's actually never played it once. But look at the cabinet, it's beautiful, the controls are great, but my only gripe is that the button for the second player went out. It just doesn't work anymore. Even though I switched out buttons, I did some modding, it has something to do with the control board, so I've yet to fix that. Now, if any of you have any recommendations, please leave that in the comments below. Okay, so this is really hard. My favorite cabinet is Tron. I did a special on Tron a few videos back. This one holds so much nostalgia for me, and I absolutely love this still. I mean, from the way the cabinet looks, black lights, the neon lights, the frame of the cab, the way it looks above the others, freaking like light stick that you use, and all look and play amazing. I mean, it also includes Disc War, which is probably my favorite looking arcade back in the day with the environment and everything. That would be a dream to own for sure. But Arcade1up was just, I mean, they nailed this one. This to me is one of the reasons why when I dreamed of having an arcade in my home, this was what I would always think about. And now I have one. Like, what a blessing. The 3rd most played game, I'd have to say, is the new Dragon's Lair. This may become the 1st most played game, but this takes the cake on that one. Yes, you can make it so that you have unlimited lives and run through the game that way, but I refuse to do more than 3 lives because that's what I remember. And when I put a coin door on this one, you better believe Arcade1up already set it up to where you have to put 2 quarters in, just like back in the day. And this cabinet does not disappoint. I won't do a full review of it here because Larry and I are planning on doing one for our channel, But this cab is epic, and my oldest son is addicted. I mean, it's so gorgeous. It's everything we could dream of without spending thousands and thousands of dollars on this thing to get an actual 80s arcade into which was like hundreds of pounds. I mean, this one I brought up the stairs, and it's just, I mean, look at it. It's gorgeous. Thank you, Arcade1up. For the second most played arcade cabinet that I own, has to go with Street Fighter II. I have two of them, which seems kind of odd, but one was a gift and one I purchased for the church. The one that is mine is modded a bit, as you can see, with new buttons and arcade sticks with Sanwa style, and it plays as a dream and harkens back to a time when things were so much better. I know Arcade1up created the Big Blue edition of this, and whereas I'd love to have that one, this one is great, and I can't see purchasing a Big Blue just because. This one works perfectly. It plays great and is the best cab to talk trash and lay the smack down. My sons won't play with me because I've always beat them, except that one time, but we don't talk about that one time. Okay, so as I was thinking about the #1 most played cabinet, it really was a surprise to me, and to many who probably are watching this. My favorite cabinet, the one that sees the most play, and the one my son and I continually go back to with a coin door, is the PacMan Anniversary Cab. Yes, there are new versions of this, but our favorite game, perhaps in the top 5 of favorite games of all time, is Dig Dug. It's right up there with Tron and Joust. I love the sped up version of PacMan as well, which makes for a much more enjoyable experience. This cab also has Galaga and so many other fun classic games. It's a standout cabinet, has glorious sound that harken back to the golden age of arcade games and has never disappointed. This one plays all the time. So these are my favorite cabs that, or at least they're the most played that Arcade1up has put out so far that I own. Arcade1up is like a famous celebrity to me. I don't get starstruck with people. In fact, I don't really like that mentality at all, especially with celebrities. But if Arcade1up was a person, I'd stop in my tracks and ask for an autograph. What they have done for the average Joe like me is nothing short of wonderful. Yes, they may have caused many fights with middle-aged men and their families, and yes, they are a hit to my pocketbooks, but if I was like Ice in Top Gun, I'd for sure be its wingman. Call me a groupie, but I love all of these arcades almost to an unhealthy degree, and oftentimes stay late at work just to play a few games afterwards. Turn off the lights, pump in my 80s arcade mix from Spotify on the speakers, and jam like I'm in Flynn's Arcade breaking records. When all is said and done, I have 60 different Arcade1up games to play on the cabs that I own. I don't say that to show off, I say that because it's something that I never thought would be possible. Thank you, Arcade1up. Thank you to the community who keeps pushing for new titles to emerge, and thank you to all who are watching this still. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment on your favorite cab that you saw here or one that you play the most. Argue with me, complain, but at the end of the day, realize that you're blessed. Life could be so much harder than playing on arcades that we love from our youth. Thanks for joining me in this episode of Outrun the Neon Sun.